Okay, I think we're good. Testing microphone. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Crypto Pulse Weekly. I believe I'm sharing my screen for the guys on Zoom. For the guys on Instagram, welcome to Crypto Pulse Weekly. This is our weekly digest and analysis of the markets. Happy to have you here. Hope you've had a nice week so far. I've had a nice week. So much news to digest this week. Even though it doesn't reflect in the size and the bulkiness of your portfolio. But my intention is to make you happy by the time you leave here today, based on what I'll tell you. So let's get started with the usual stuff. We'll go through our market updates and vital signs. Then I will take some, I'll take you through some analysis on the charts before we go through to the crypto drip for today, which is the question of whether we're still in the bull run. Which I've got that question a number of times this week and even the last. So my aim today is to prove to you beyond reasonable doubt that yes, we're still in the bull run. So let's get started. So in terms of market updates, massive news out of Miami last week. A lot of fallout, so to say. Oh, of course, there's a negative fallout of some people saying they caught COVID there, but that's expected. You had about 12,000 people together in one place. Naturally, you expect some people to catch COVID, especially if they've not been vaccinated. So that's expected, anyways. But beyond that, one of the first things I think happened was the address that was given by the president of El Salvador, which is a Latin American nation, saying that he was going to table a bill before the Senate, basically to say accept Bitcoin as a legal tender. Of course, as at Saturday last week, it was still in contention, but of course by Tuesday, it became law, essentially. And of course, if you check Wikipedia now, you will see El Salvador's currency as US dollar and Bitcoin. So they're on the Guinness Book of World Record as the first country to legalize the use of Bitcoin as essentially as a legal tender. I think it's one step for mankind, one giant leap for Bitcoin, if you may put it that way. But I think it was a very massive one, and it sort of corroborates what I've been saying, and many other people have been saying since last year, which is the day sovereign nationalities start to accept Bitcoin and put it in their treasury reserve, that is the day Bitcoin starts to get into escape velocity. What do I mean? Countries usually have infinite pockets, if you think about it this way. They can print as much money as they want. So if I were El Salvador and maybe my local currency still worth something, I'll print as much as I can personally to buy Bitcoin, because I know that once I convert to Bitcoin, it becomes a tangible, non-perishable asset. But over and above that, that step actually signaled to a lot of other Latin American nations, because about half of Latin American nations have also signified intention to look into that direction. And we had that news coming out of the the Bezel Committee. I'll talk about that later during the news sections. In terms of volatility, I think we're very much within range. And as I said, I didn't expect us to break below 30K when the market went down again. And obviously, we saw that it didn't happen. Essentially, we broke up from the 31K region, and right now, I think we're in a good position to attempt 40K during this weekend. Sentiment is, for me, sentiment is bullish. Some people are still saying, okay, it's still short-term bearish because we've still not broken up. But fundamentally speaking, I think the sentiment has switched. It's still, if you look at our fear and greed index, it's still showing a lot of fear. But I think we've flipped on the sentiment. We've not been able to make a lower low from that original 30K dip about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I think we're in range to begin to slingshot into higher prices. So let's hit the news. So this guy is the president of El Salvador. What's his name again? Forgotten his name now. Nayib. His name is Nayib. He basically got his Senate to approve Bitcoin as a legal tender. And because of that, Paraguay, Tonga, Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, and Colombia are now, in fact, Tonga came out the next day to say that they had about $780 million in sovereign assets, and that it was melting ice, and so they were going to convert to Bitcoin as well. What it meant by it was melting ice is if you have 100,000 in your bank last year, this year that $100,000 is worth about 84,000 to be conservative, meaning what your 100,000 could buy you at the beginning of last year, it could only buy you 86,000 of the same thing this year. So that dollar has essentially lost about 14 to 15% in the last 1 year plus. And everybody keeps their assets in dollars. Let's just put it that way. Because of the petrodollar agreement with Saudi Arabia back in the days, most countries have their reserves in dollars. And what most central banks do is to try and have a bouquet of currencies where if the nationality or the government needs to trade with those countries, they can always, use those currencies. So now that one country has said, you know what, we're going to use Bitcoin and we're going to convert our reserves to Bitcoin, it's going to make it a lot easier for the Latin American nations, frankly speaking, a lot easier for them to develop. How do I mean? So one, you have Paraguay, Tonga, Mexico, Argentina, and Brazil. If I showed you the map, you find out that all of them are around the same area. So Brazil, Argentina are probably the biggest of the chunk. You still have Chile and the likes, but Paraguay is about the 4th or 3rd largest as well. So those are huge land masses. Countries like Tonga and El Salvador and Colombia are relatively smaller. But what it means is that if they do go that way, which is invariable, and I'll tell you why it's invariable shortly. If they do go that way, what it means is that they can carry out trade effortlessly, fearless, without stress. Think about that. All the trade that they would have needed to settle via the United States, all of a sudden, they can settle it directly with themselves. And that was what I was saying on the chat, that unfortunately that African leaders are they don't get the point at all. They're, completely off the charts in terms of understanding what is going on, because this is a pivotal opportunity to harness the value within the continent. What the westernization and colonization has done is to make everything look valueless, save what the Western world says is valuable. But what this does is, because within each nation, within each landmass, there's value locked there. So prime real estate in London, for instance, you could say, for you to get a decent 4-bedroom house in North London, it will set you back by at least 1.2 million pounds. Now, 1.2 million pounds in Nigerian currency today is over $1 billion. That will buy you a mansion in Banana Island. So the value that is locked within each nation cannot be fully extracted as long as that value is calibrated in a foreign nation's money. In the same way, developing countries like Nigeria, Ghana, any of these Latin American countries, they can't extract their full value because even if we sell our oil, we're selling our oil to the US dollar. So the US is essentially the one determining how valuable our oil is, not only by the OPEC arrangement, but also by how much the currency we are collecting is valuable. And what is happening is because of the massive money printing has happened the last 1 year, everybody's sovereign wealth essentially has been devalued by more than 10% within 1 year. So these provide significant opportunity for them if their head is screwed on right, to get it right within themselves and to help their economies. Because if Latin America is able to, and because Latin America is Latin America, most of them speak Spanish or Portuguese. Most of them speak both Spanish and Portuguese, I mean to say. So they're able to trade and relate with themselves because they both share the same language, classification. So for me, I think it's a very huge opportunity for them. And I think it's going to help them. I mean, people like Argentina don't even have any, they don't have any, what do you call it? They don't have any choice. Their inflation is almost 80 something percent. They don't have any choice. It's just like Venezuela. I'm sure Venezuela is going to, immediately going to say, you know what, maybe we also have to switch. And the good thing for El Salvador is El Salvador has volcanic mountains, meaning active volcanoes, but are not erupting. So they're able to generate geothermal energy from those volcanoes. So their current power supply is essentially from volcanic vents. Volcanic vents are like outlets out of some mountains where you have, hot lava inside the mountains at the base of the mountain. But because they are not under pressure, the only thing that comes out is just heat and steam. And that steam is what is used to power their hydro. So all they have to do is to increase their hydro capacity, and they even have plans to, start mining Bitcoin with geothermal energy. So for them, I think it's a win-win. If they're sharp and they get sharp guys to help them with the mining infrastructure, I think they'll probably be like Dubai. I mean, I don't know what this guy is, a very young guy, it's 40 years old. If his head is screwed on right, I mean, they could very, very easily become another Dubai in a very, very short time. But congratulations to El Salvador. I think it was a major move. And I think it's going to definitely impact the development in those areas. Moving on, Basel Committee recognizes Bitcoin as an asset class. So to explain Basel Committee for people who are not in finance, Basel Committee is the global committee in charge of banking regulation. So they constituted themselves as the global banking regulatory body that determines how banking is governed in terms of banking rules, banking risk assessment, banking stress test. So they come up with these standards, just like you have standards within accounting like IFRS. They come up with these standards for banking called Basel. There was one called Basel 1. There was another standard called Basel 2. Then they released another standard, Basel 3, after the 2008 financial crash. And basically what Basel 3 does, in addition to what Basel 1 and 2 does, is to ensure that a bank can be stress tested to know whether the bank will be liquid in certain scenarios. So it's like saying, okay, this current bank has a capitalization of 700 billion. And its balance sheet has 500 billion. It has debtors position of 300 billion. If we move things around, so it's like scenario stress testing. If we move things around, how far can this bank survive in scenario 1, 2, 3? So basically, they change the parameters of the bank, and they feed it into the systems, and they're able to determine whether the bank is going to survive any untoward environmental effects, or if things suddenly goes bad, how far can the bank survive? And many of the global banks pay huge sums of money to not only develop or implement this system, but to ensure that they also pass these certifications, as it were. They're like certifications that they give to major financial institutions to say that you are Basel 3 compliant or you're Basel 2 compliant. So Basel is a major global banking regulator, and for them to I've come to recognize Bitcoin as an asset class corroborates what I said last year. I think it was last year, August, when I was reporting that some central banks were considering, no, not that they were considering, that the previous year, which was 2019, a committee of some central banks had said gold should be listed as an asset class because it was taken out of on the instance of the United States. So they added gold back into the list of valuable, or what do you call, valid asset class that central banks all around the world could hold. Before then, gold was not considered as a legal asset class that you could exchange money for. So it was only the US dollar. But once they did that, which was around November 2019, it was around the same time that China started pushing, their CBDC agenda, and that was when they unpegged the US dollar from their stock exchange as the index currency. So all this is pointing to something. One day, the US dollar is going to have to recalibrate to zero. You didn't hear from me. It's inevitable. So that is recognizing Bitcoin as an asset class is a major signal of things to come. I'm sure that by the end of this year, at least 3 major central banks are going to report Bitcoin on their balance sheets. You can quote me anywhere. I'm sure that at least 3. I can talk of Iran, for instance. I know Iran is saying that they want to officially accept crypto as an asset class. So most likely Iran is definitely, going to say, you know what, we're going to put Bitcoin on our balance sheets. One, because it helps them to get away from the United States very easily, so they don't have to deal with the US dollars. So if Iran does it, you can be sure Venezuela is going to do it. If Venezuela does it, you can be sure people like Turkey and all the likes are going to do it. So major news. Then, of course, you had this bill about Texas, the state of Texas in the United States. Essentially, this bill is going to give banks the banking charter to hold crypto on behalf of their customers. So they can hold crypto on behalf of their customers, they can help their customers to buy crypto, they can report crypto on their balance sheets. Again, massive. The reason I'm saying this is massive is because if you know the dynamics within the United States, you know that there are 2 countries that can stand on their own within the United States. In fact, they still have the option to opt out of the United States, and they are self-sustaining. One is Texas, the other is California. Texas, because Texas has always been a rich country because of the oil and all that, and because they were one of the very last Confederate states to agree to become part of the United States. So they always have that clause, and as a result, they have more flexibility and bandwidth in terms of what they can do at the state level than most other states in the United States. And they have the money and the backing to do it. They have the money to go with it. So if they say they're going in one direction, most likely you can be sure that there's nothing that can be done at the federal level to stop them. So again, massive news, not reflecting on the price, tells you something. If you have massive news like this that is not reflecting on the price, it tells you something. And I'm going to tell you what it is later. Again, you have our there Central Bank of Nigeria, instead of finding a way to load their balance sheet and their currency reserves with Bitcoin, they're talking about piloting a central bank digital currency. Well, my comments, I think it's number one, misguided. Unfortunately, like most other things, this was a country just a few months ago that was banning, people from operating cryptocurrency. I was talking about not allowing banks to function within the cryptocurrency space. To give you an idea of what has happened, just a synopsis. At the beginning of 2020, the remittances that were going into Nigeria from all over the world, from relatives abroad, was about $2.something billion. By the end of, I think by the beginning of this year, it has been down to like $50 million. So it tells you something. That money has found alternate channels out of the banking system and is currently sitting in the crypto space. So much so that Paxful has to come out and say, you know what, guys, you can't hold. I mean, you saw the statement at the Miami conference that, you can't hold Nigeria very small in the story of how Bitcoin can transform an economy within an economy. And, it did pay a lot of kudos to the youth population of Nigeria, only to find out that people like our funny Attorney General himself was secretly trading crypto. Meanwhile, he wanted to ban other people from doing it. Senseless human beings. Anyways, moving on from that. I don't think it's a good idea though. Whilst it looks good on the surface, that is like, okay, we're trying to do something sophisticated. It's misguided. Why do I say it's misguided? I mean, this is a currency that is dropping. It's just dropping like gravity. And maybe by the end of the year, maybe $1 will be 700 pounds, 700 naira. I mean, and you are talking about, digital bank currency. I don't know, I don't know what those guys are smoking, what kind of weed they're smoking, but it's really very rare. Must be very rare variants. But unfortunately, I think it's completely misguided in terms of priorities, because this is not what is needed now. What is needed is to find a way to, tap into the proper crypto economy, and find a way to boost the lots of the youths that are, of course, eager to get into these things. Unfortunately, anyways, let's move on. Singapore Sovereign Wealth, a company called GIG, invests about 70 million in OSL. So OSL is one of the biggest exchange group in Singapore, and their parent group has now received 70 million in investment. Basically, what this is saying is the sovereign wealth of Singapore is investing in crypto. Last year, I mentioned to you that the Norwegian sovereign wealth had a holding company that was a majority shareholder in MicroStrategy. And everybody was saying then that, because of that the Norwegian sovereign wealth was indirectly exposed to Bitcoin. I think it's in the interest of any country, any right-thinking country, actually, to be involved and exposed to Bitcoin at this point, where we've not gotten to, blown out adoption. Why? Countries have, stashes of future funds stocked up in, pension funds, sovereign wealth, and all that. All of that stuff is mostly in US dollars. Based on our known analysis, in the next 10 years or the next 12 years, any US dollar you have today is completely lost in value, like 100% lost in value. If that is the case, why would a sovereign wealth want to keep its assets in a depreciating asset, as opposed to something that you're going to get 10 on 10, at least 10% per annum, year on year, for a particular asset? So for me, it really doesn't make sense that, you don't have any, like, after Nigerians of it, well, they've actually depleted that one. But many countries are not thinking in that light yet. But what I think is going to happen is, as soon as people begin to see the economies that are migrating into Bitcoin and how they're performing, I think people begin to have a second thought. For instance, if you don't know, if you have Bitcoins, now you can move to El Salvador as a Bitcoin entrepreneur. All you need is 3 Bitcoins. And I told someone that they'll be shocked at the volume of Nigerians that are going to show up on their shows before the end of the year. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to simulate what Dubai is doing, what the UAE is doing. The UAE can give you permanent residence as long as you are bringing in funds. They don't care where you're bringing in your funds from, but as long as you're bringing in funds, they're ready to take you. Now, if a case comes up and FBI is looking for you, they can release it to FBI, but they don't care as long as you're bringing in funds. You can come and stay there. As a result of that, they brought in massive amount of capital into the economy, and it's working for the economy. Where did they get it from? Because they got it from Britain. So now El Salvador is playing the same card. If it works well, and I think it will, because the guy is young, he's still within peri-millennial age bracket. He's able to pull it off. You'll probably have a lot of Bitcoiners saying, let's let's go there. In fact, you might have a major, crypto event or Bitcoin event happening there next year because of that. So I think it's a huge paradigm shift that governments and governmental institutions need to take into consideration. And of course, for us as individuals, I've always said it. There's no point keeping your sweat in the bank when the government is actively working to devalue your sweat by the month. Another inflation figure is going to come out this month, and everybody's going to be shocked again at what has happened, because the last one that came out was double the the expectation in terms of figures for the Fed. Another one is going to come out now. And of course, everybody knew this inflation was going to come, because you can't stop global economy and not expect that when you allow it to move, things are not going to rebound. And then you've printed more than 25% supply in terms of money supply. So naturally expect that there will be inflation. So your buying power is going to reduce. I give a very, very funny example. That when I first moved to the UK, I used to wash my car for £5. And I had two car washes. One used to work for £5, the other used to wash for I think £8. And I used to laugh then, because the guys that wash for £5 they got shut down. Then I moved to the guys that wash for £8. Then after a while, the guys that wash for £8 changed their prices. And after a while, the price changed to £12. Then it changed to £15. Now it's £20. Why am I saying? I mean, that's just car wash. Of course, you can say, okay, why can't you wash your car yourself? I can't wash my car in the cold. That's it's totally out of the question. I do like my car dirty, so it's one of those expenses that I have to bear, unfortunately. But that's something as simple. I can give you another example because I do groceries. Things like vegetables. I found out personally that Tesco kale, for instance, 2 years ago used to sell at around 60p, and the volume that you have in terms of net size was almost a kilogram in that sachet, now big sachet. But I just found out that over the years, that sachet has been reducing and reducing and reducing and reducing in size. Now, sachet is like, I can't remember, it's barely 500 grams now. And it's still selling for maybe like 79p. So in order not to, inflate the price, what they've done is they've been shrinking the package. So whether you like it or not, inflation is going to burn a hole through your pockets. You don't have to do anything about it. And some people say it is the illegal tax that the government placed on people after all the taxes you pay. So think about, if you live in the UK, all the taxes you have to pay. You pay for purchase, you pay everything. You pay council tax, you pay purchase tax. If you buy a house, you pay property tax. You pay, income tax. If you have capital gains, you pay capital gains. On top of all of that, when you now put your money, of course, when you put your money in bank, if it gains, pay tax again. Meanwhile, the money itself is depreciating. The money itself is depreciating. So net, the government is burning a hole through everybody's pockets, and they're still taxing everybody. So frankly, it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't see how I can. You can't find me have more my money. I mean, I barely have any money in my bank account, because it doesn't. I can't justify it to my brain, because I know that it's actively in depreciation. No matter how funds are even negative now. I mean, I don't want to get carried away with this, because it's heartbreaking. Because you go to work, you work hard. Some people work 40 hours, some people work 60 hours. You work hard, the little you're able to pull together, you pull it together. Then the government is behind, screwing you up by, literally, downgrading the value of your labor and sweat. That's what's happening. And unfortunately, Bitcoin provides just one of those opportunities for you to at least save yourself from the massive devaluation that is going on. So I think eventually we will see that. And when that happens, like I told someone, when that happens, you will see some price jumps that people have hitherto thought was not possible in the price of Bitcoin. I have too much time to go on the news before I move into the analysis. So the first, somebody, Mr. Wiley is saying I should loan him 3 Bitcoins. To even have 0.1 Bitcoin now, you're a rich man. If you have 0.1 Bitcoin, I'm telling you, because in 5 years' time, 0.1 Bitcoin maybe what, maybe like 70K or 100K. So don't joke with
Please, please.
this guy you have now. Anyways, Ethereum is been misbehaving, and I just thought to mention why Ethereum is misbehaving. So what happened was there's supposed to be this major upgrade in July for Ethereum. What this was supposed to achieve was to ensure that the network is not as expensive as it is when you have network traffic. So for people who are familiar with DeFi and NFTs, when there is a high buzz in DeFi and NFT, the price goes crazy. If you want to do a $100 transaction, you could get charged $150. So because of that, they're applying a sort of upgrade to the network to ensure that it's not as expensive. And secondly, to make sure that Ethereum is not inflationary. Before now, Ethereum is essentially inflationary to the tune of about 2% per annum. This has caused a lot of problems within the development community. So for people who don't have the context, Ethereum is, of course, the second largest cryptocurrency. It's I can say it's a community consensus among developers. It's a cryptocurrency blockchain that allows people to put programs and scripts on a blockchain. Because of that, it's essentially sustained by developers. However, things are not able to get through quickly because decisions are entirely left to those developers. So if the developers don't agree, you can't get an upgrade through. And this is one of those instances. And that's why the price is behaving the way it is now. On the other hand, you have contenders. I mentioned those contenders before, and I think I've done some analysis on Cardano, Polkadot, and I think BNB at some point. Another one that I completely, and I mean completely missed out. I personally missed out on it. I traded it last year, made profits from it last year, but I completely missed out on it this year. Was Solana, and is my current spotlight for this week. Why Solana? So, like many of the other smart contract platform cryptocurrencies, Solana is attempting to do the same thing with specific enhancements in the area of decentralized finance. However, because you already had front runners like Cardano, like even Cosmos, like Polkadot, not many people knew about Solana until they launched a smart contract platform, I think earlier this year, and all of a sudden, I mean, Solana really tried and now they're going in a sort of a round of fundraising. They're trying to raise about 400 million to compete. Basically, the whole essence of raising the 400 million is to compete with Ethereum. I know that Cardano, Polkadot, and some other guys are doing the same thing, but these guys now have gotten on some venture capitalists to help them compete with Ethereum as the go-to smart contract platform. So in terms of spotlight, I think Solana is one to watch out for. It's a bit expensive now, but if you can afford it, that means about how much is it now? 20. Hold on a second. I think it's $36 now. I mean, just have a look at this. Solana in March was 13. Solana let me go to January. Solana in January. Yeah, Solana in January was barely $2 in January. It's peaked out at almost $56. It's been down again. I think it's it's done its parabolic move. It's in accumulation now, in preparation for another parabola. So I think it's still a good buy. Against the backdrop, why am I saying it's a good buy? Against the backdrop of the overall market movement that is about to happen, which is the next thing I'm going to discuss, I think it's a good time to get some, one or two at the minimum. it's even though I don't have any more right now, but I know that it's something I've put down my radar that I need to get some Solana. It's significant project, and I think we'll see some massive moves in the coming months. In terms of what's happening on the markets as per analysis, so this is what our stats looks like. We have 1.5 million global market cap. Bitcoin is sitting about 44% now. Altcoins and Bitcoins have both lost in the last 1 week. Of course, because of that death spiral or the fake out death spiral that happened during the week. You've had another drop of about 50 billion from the markets. And because of that, altcoins have taken a hit as well. But because instead of the price, the price of Bitcoin to crash, it's recovered. So that's affected the balance of Bitcoin dominance. It's shifted by like 1% now. Somebody was asking what's the minimum buy. I think the minimum buy is well, you can actually buy a fraction of it on places like crypto.com and Binance. I mean, buy as much as you can afford to. I think it's a good project. I think in 5 years' time, Solana will probably be selling at the same price as Ethereum today. So I think it's a good buy. I mean, think about it this way. Binance coin was, how much was Binance coin? In 2017, Binance coin was like $1 or something, or $2. And then last year it was maybe like $11 or $60. And now it's trading in the hundreds. So yeah, as much as you can buy, maybe if you want 2 or 10, just something to keep an eye out for the long term. I think it's going to do well, especially because now they're going to raise venture capital funds. So they have a lot of governance and structure coming to their projects. So we'll have that drop in terms of altcoins. I expect that going into the weekend, we might see some slight drops. Okay, let me explain that. The reason we might see some slight drops there, I have some feeds that give me information on whale movements, meaning movements that happen on the blockchain. And I noticed that about 4,000 Bitcoin moved from an unknown wallet into what's it called? What's the name of these guys? Bitfinex. So Bitfinex has they're one of the original gangster exchanges that started trading derivatives. In fact, they were the pioneers of derivatives in the cryptocurrency space, and they are the kingmakers when it comes to market manipulation. So when I saw that 4,000 Bitcoin moving to Bitfinex from an unknown wallet, I knew that okay, there's going to be some buy orders or sell orders on Bitcoin at 40K. Nevertheless, if the demand is strong, of course, they will have to cancel their sell orders. So let me just explain briefly how market makers try to manipulate or try to keep the price in range. If market makers want to keep the price at 40K, for instance, what they'll do is they will place huge sell orders at 40K. So if the overall market circulating supply of Bitcoin was, let's say, 200,000 Bitcoins, then they go and place like 1,000 Bitcoins to sell at 40K. What it means is that because the other book will not have enough volume to consume that 40K sale, once the price hits 40K, it just drops sharply. And when the price drops sharply like that, it triggers a lot of things. It triggers AI algorithms. It triggers bots. It triggers people that have stop loss that are trading futures or derivatives or trading by leverage. So it's like a domino or a snowball effect, and that triggers a lot of sell orders in cascade, and then you see the price jack down. So because it's so easy to do, all you have to do is look at the other books on the exchanges. You have the information is available, and you can just block the price. So no matter what happens, unless there is a major news, the price, you just see that the price is just hitting on that particular resistance and it's not moving up. And so that's why I said I think okay, they still want to suppress the price for the rest of the week. But I think that we might be seeing the last of the weeks where Bitcoin will be selling below 40K. If it's not this week, definitely next week. And I can show you, I will show you from the charts very soon. So somebody was asking me that there's another token called Slim. I don't know about Slim, but I know about SRM. Serum is also a very good project under the Solana ecosystem. Solana ecosystem, the Polkadot ecosystem, the BNB ecosystem are favorable competitors to Ethereum. The good thing about them, especially people like Polkadot, is that they already have projects. They already, the parachains are already built. Polkadot is auctioning this month, I think. So they already have not just proof of concept, they already have projects. Cardano is a bit on their own in that Cardano is, the guy is quite geeky and is firmly in control of the developmental roadmap. So they're not usually bothered. I think they have a lot of money. I don't know from where. But the Cardano Foundation is not usually bothered by market fluctuation. They just go direct to their roadmap. So from at least as far back as 2016, that have followed their roadmap. They've just stuck to their roadmap and they're building according to the roadmap. So Cardano is not as popular because when people like BNB and Ethereum were launching and wooing developers, Cardano was just building the functionality of the chain itself. So now, in terms of readiness, I would say, of course, BNB is already, BNB, Binance Smart Chain is already trying to compete with Ethereum on many levels. But outside Binance, I would say Polkadot and Solana ecosystem are the ones that seem to be the most ready to take on Ethereum. Of course, Cardano is ready, but it doesn't have as much developmental base in terms of developers are using the platform. And if developers are not using your platform, it means that there's a limit to the number of projects that can be launched. And there are not so much projects that there's reduced utility for your token as well. So that's the dynamics. I'll check out that link that you mentioned, and I'll give you an update later. Having said that, I think that the market is in a good buy zone. I don't know for how long this is going to be. So we've seen 11, we've seen 12, we've seen 17, we've seen 21. Right now, we're still in extreme fair, which is, seriously, this is a serious buy zone. For most of January to May, we were in the greens. You can see the lowest we went at that point was somewhere in the neutral. But since the last 5 weeks, you've seen that we've just been going from one level of extreme fair to another level. That's going to change. I don't have the time, but I could show you the time lapse on Google search for Bitcoin and the environment and the spread of negative news on Bitcoin and how it has affected the price. I can show you, especially in the Western Hemisphere. So the market is not manipulated for various reasons. Every major market with this kind of liquidity always will get some sort of manipulation assault at different points. In the forex markets, the big banks that have the big funds, they push the price around and wipe out, basically wipe the floor with retail traders. So you're looking at your charts and your chart is not making sense. After you've done your analysis, the market is still shitting on you. Pardon my friend. The market is literally shitting on you and you're not able to do anything to it because the market makers are basically moving the market around. And what I told guys on the WhatsApp group is that volatility is the price we need to pay for the insane gains we're expecting to make. If you have whales moving around in a small body of water, that small body of water is going to be very uncomfortable. A whale can be as long as half a kilometer. That's how big some whales can. So if you have whales moving around in a small body of water, that water is going to be very turbulent. And that's exactly what's happening. So you have whales making counter movements on the market. And that's causing a lot of price distress. Somebody was saying, I don't know how you go to bed looking at your account at 40% value of what it was at the middle of last month. Yeah, it's the same account. The assets are not perishable. They have valid use cases. They're not expiring. They're not expiring. And unlike many other asset classes, we have visibility. To be honest, we have visibility, and I think I'm going to share one of those data with you, because last week somebody was asking me why I was so sounding so positive and so sure, and I was saying that it's not like you don't have data. You have data that tells you actually what's going on. So when you see what's going on, it changes your context and perspective. So I think I'm going to share some of that with you today. In terms of where we are, I think we're back. We're back in optimism. We were here. We're just on the cusp of euphoria. I think we're back now. Like somebody said, that on the shorter time frame, it looks like we went to euphoria, into complacency, and we went down to capitulation. But on the overall, in terms of this bull run, I think we're here very soon. We'll be back in belief. I mean, we're already like here really, because now people are seeing that okay, sovereign nations are taking this seriously. Central banks to start taking it seriously. If central banks are taking it seriously, no matter what anybody is telling you, you better be taking it seriously. So before the end of September, we will hit some form of euphoria and bet that, and come back a bit, and probably witness another dip. I don't know how long or how deep this one is going to be. Well, let's have a look at the charts to explain what I'm telling you. So if you look at the Bitcoin charts, this is the daily charts. I don't know what's happening to my internet now. Okay, this is the daily charts. And when the price was literally misbehaving during the week, I remember showing this to someone. I said, we have two ways in terms of direction based on this. So this is like the triangle formation, or what you call a pennant, a bearish pennant. That based on this market structure, that we have two ways that the market is going to pan out for Bitcoin. That if it breaks down below the pennant, then it's a bearish signal. And because the market makers know that everybody is watching the chart and trying to base their decision on the chart, that they're going to flip the market on everybody. That when everybody now says, oh yes, we are going down, and that's when the market is going to switch. And I said, if we did go down for real, then of course we were going to like 25K, 23K region, in fairness. And that was the lowest limit that the market could go to. But I felt that there were a number of reasons why the market would not go to 23K. So you have people like MicroStrategy, who bought huge chunks at 30K, and will probably have their pending orders waiting at 30K as well. And of course, what happened on which day was it? This was Tuesday, I think. Yeah, it was on Tuesday. What happened on Tuesday was that the price crashed 31. Of course, for no just reason, the price was just dumping, and it dumped 31. And of course, immediately it got to 31. Just when everybody was convinced that yes, we are indeed going for a capitulation, all of a sudden it flips back the very next day, and it goes from 32 to 37 in one day. So we have a 5K candle in one day. On the back of the El Salvador news, there were so many good news that seemed to be coming around at the same time on that day. The next day, you had this news from JP Morgan. I decided not to cover that news because it's just utter rubbish, saying that the price of Bitcoin was going to crash further based on a particular market structure model. So again, never listen to what big banks are saying, only what they are doing, because what they are saying is a total distraction from what exactly they are doing. When JP Morgan was saying Bitcoin was junk in the last bull run, there are traders in London who are buying. They were buying the dip like crazy. So we've seen that affect the market again. And of course, I told you that Bitfinex, or what's it called, Bitfinex, have moved 4,000 Bitcoins to their exchange with the plan to cap the price at just around 38K. I don't know for how long they're going to be. I mean, because if the 4K Bitcoin gets exhausted, it's either they add more or they leave the price to float. But I think that we'll attempt 40K this weekend. If you break 40K, my projection is that we will have the price will probably just bounce along this trend line upward. into the upper 40s and into the 50s. We might not get to the 50s until a couple of weeks, or depending on what happens next week. So if I go to the weekly charts, the weekly chart is showing us that the market has not been able to close. So if we close above the current price, which is around 37, if we close above 37 this week, of course, definitely we've more or less confirmed the reversal, because it will mean that we have 3 weeks of indecision while we are making higher highs, essentially. So if we close above 37 this week, then obviously we can expect that fact. Now that I mentioned it, I think I should just apply it. It's a very important technical indicator that also shows the likelihood of what's going to happen. So right now, yeah. So right now we're sitting below the first upper pivot for the week. What that means is that because we've not broken lower, the next target essentially for next week is 46,000 plus or minus 4K. So really, we're likely to head higher from here. In terms of Bitcoin dominance, yeah, Bitcoin dominance has really come up. It seems that we bottomed out. You know, I did mention that if we're not able to break 40, we're likely to see a reversal. We've seen that reversal. It's pulled back. Now it's going back. It's almost making a W recovery like Bitcoin itself. So this might be the end of reducing Bitcoin dominance. What does that mean for altcoin? It doesn't mean that altcoin season is now going to capitulate. What it just means is that there will be some significant money flow into Bitcoin over the coming weeks, including money already in Bitcoin. I mean, in altcoins. So we might still have that same energy flowing into altcoins, but their Bitcoin value will not be as strong. Let me give you an example. Let me switch this to Ethereum Bitcoin. Yeah, so if we switch to Ethereum Bitcoin, so this is the chart of Bitcoin against Ethereum. Ordinarily, you'll have seen that this was going up until beginning of this week. So it topped out at 0.8. The overall target is 0.1, meaning that Ethereum will be a tenth of the value of Bitcoin. That value was the all-time high, if I remember very well. Yes, 0.1, yeah, 0.15 was the all-time high of Ethereum against Bitcoin. That squabble against the upgrade is what has dragged down the price now, and you can see the flipping that everybody's talking about. I don't think it's going to happen in this year, meaning that the potential that Bitcoin will flip the price of Ethereum. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, actually. But this is just to show that we're having a correction in the price of Ethereum giving over Bitcoin as well. Interestingly, this particular chart seems to correlate inversely with Bitcoin dominance almost all the time. So if you look at this chart, I look at this chart, you see that it's almost like you see a W here, then you see an M on the top here. So it's almost like they're inverse correlates of each other. So that's what's happening with the charts. I have one chart to go, but I'm going to talk about what's happening in terms of why, whether we're still in the bull market or not. So I need to answer this question for the sake of many people on call and for the sake of many people that will probably listen to the video on YouTube, as many people do afterwards. People have asked me whether we're still in the bull run or not. And I need to explain to you why we're still in the bull and why whatever we might be witnessing now is just a market correction, and why it's not anything new that we've not seen before, really. So I'm going to close out this. Let me close out this chat for, yeah. So I want to take a look at this chart. This chart is a weekly chart of Bitcoin, and it actually helps to plot Bitcoin against, let me remove this so that it helps to plot Bitcoin against the US dollar on the weekly. Let's take 2017. So yeah, I need it to be like that. Yes. So I'm going to take 2017 as a case study to show you why we're exactly where we're supposed to be, really and truly. I have many theses, and I have many evidence, but I'll just show you this one because of time, and then we can take questions from there. So this is January 2017 here, December, January. You see the same thing. We had a spike going into 2016, then we came down in January. Just like we had the correction in January, this correction in 2017 was 36%. Then we moved on from there, had gains up until March. Then we had another correction in March from top to bottom. As you can see, another 34%. Then from that bottom in March, we shot up to July by 240% from the bottom in March. But that's not where I'm going. Where I'm going is the bottom we had in July. The bottom we had in July, which is where we are now actually, took almost 40% off the market again. From that 40% drop, we went all the way again and did a 173% to end up around end of August/September. From end of August/September, when we dipped again, so we sort of went up from end of August/September to October. Then in October, we dipped for 1 week. And from the dip in October to the peak in December, that's almost 300%. Why am I saying this? If I show you the charts now, you see the immediate correlation. So this is 2017. If I go to 2013, okay, this chart doesn't have all the data from 2013. But if I can't bring up that chart now, there's another chart that has legacy data for 2013. Well, let me show you what has happened this year. So the same way in January, this is January, right? In January, we went up and then came down from top to bottom, 30%. Then this is January, right? From January 2015, we went up again. From that 20% low, we went up by 100%, 104% in the price of Bitcoin, which took us to the peak we had in mid-February. From the peak we had in mid-February, we had a dump, 26%. From that 26%, we had another peak that took us to 50%, which was essentially mid-April. From mid-April, we're taking a dump to 27% to, I think this was May, 27%. From that 27% drop again, taking another gain of 26%. And from the 26% we had in the second week of May, that's where we are now. So from that, taking how much? I think about 50, yeah, 50% head to bottom. 50% drop. So what this tells me is from this bottom, which is 30K, I expect that at the minimum, let me do the calculation. At the minimum, And of course, at the minimum, we're going to get 70K at the minimum. Now, whether it's going to be 72 or 75, I don't know. But the minimum, the next run up in the next coming weeks is going to take us, definitely going to take up above the all-time high of 65. It's going to be in this region. It's going to be in this region at the minimum, like 130%. Why am I saying so? The market is following me, is like following a mathematical linear regression model. And the market maker seems to be playing the market by that book. The market is going up and coming down by that model. And by that model, we know that by the month of July, we're likely to witness another all-time high. Definitely. So, is the bull run over or the bull run is not over? No, the bull run is just getting started. It's almost like we just press the reset button and we're now in part 2 of 3. So we're going to have a part 2. We're going to have some slump, probably at the end of summer. Then we're going to have a part 3 that takes us to the end of the year. That is my thesis on what is happening with the price of Bitcoin. If you're interested, I have a series of subscriptions that I'm opening up next month to help you cash out on the timings, because I can tell you categorically that we sort of now have the timing on when we're likely to see these dumps and pumps. So if you're interested, do get in touch with me. But whether are we in a bull run or not, just wait for another 5 weeks. Then we can have a discussion again. But to make it categorically clear, we're very much still in the bull run. Very, very much still in the bull run. As a matter of fact, we're just getting started. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I've hit 8 o'clock on the dot. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take your questions now. Otherwise, it will be a nice weekend. I know there will be somebody that has a question, definitely. So for the guys on Instagram, I see you. Good evening, everybody. Everybody silence. Okay. So now,
we're just trying to digest.
You're trying to digest the info. You're trying to digest the info that maybe the Dr. Nemi is just scoping us, just telling us a lie. I'm just trying to psych us up. Well, I've just laid out the facts. Those are the facts of the matter. And as a matter of fact, definitely we'll see another. Your questions are bearish. Go ahead and ask your questions. Whether they are bearish or bullish doesn't matter. Dr. Shadi.
Yeah. Thanks again as always. I just wanted to find out during the week I was observing the conversations going on between members of the group, and when the news about Ethereum moving the date for the upgrade, I saw a conversation about someone talking about Polygon, that it's good news for them, something like that. So what's that all about?
Oh, okay.
For Martin.
Yeah, I'll explain now. Is that all? Okay, that's all. Yeah. So Polygon is what you could call a secondary network, or a lightning network, of something that I can't draw on the board. But what I would have liked to draw is to draw one layer, like a slab, and to draw another layer as a second slab. Now, so imagine 2 layers. Layer 1 is the primary blockchain, and layer 2 is the secondary blockchain. Why do you need a secondary blockchain? A primary blockchain whose focus is on security, like Bitcoin, is not able to scale faster than the pre-programmed speed. As you already know, Bitcoin will only produce a block every 10 minutes. Well, I'll assume you already know. But Bitcoin only produces a block every 10 minutes. Now, you can't hasten that up. You can't slow it down. It will always produce a block every 10 minutes. Now, that block can contain just 3 transactions, or it can contain 5,000, depending on how many people are processing at that particular time or have submitted transactions at that particular time. What that means for a transaction like Bitcoin is that it cannot scale to demand. It cannot scale when you want, very high volume processing. So if you are looking for a banking system that is going to help you to process 15,000 or 500,000 customers at the same time, Bitcoin is not your solution, because Bitcoin is not built for that scale. Bitcoin is built to secure the transaction and to make sure that the transactions are immutable. So to address that problem, people build what you call lightning solutions, which are like layer 2 solutions. So what the layer 2 solutions then do is the speed that you need is carried out on the layer 2, and then the settlement or the reconciliation of transactions is carried out on layer 1. For accountants, you immediately understand what I'm saying, that it's like saying you are selling and buying, and in a day you sell 500 items and you bought 2 items. Now, at the end of the day, you need to do a reconciliation of what is my net outflow versus net inflow, like you have on a trial balance. And then you know your position at the end of the day. Now, that position at the end of the day is like what you call end of day reconciliation in banking. That end of day reconciliation is what now happens on layer 1, because that doesn't depend on the on the speed and scalability required for the transactional level. Transactional level meaning, the individual transactions that are going and coming out of that particular system. So in the case of Ethereum, Polygon is one of the primary Lightning solution as layer 2, because Ethereum, as you know, also has its own limits when it comes to scaling, even though it's a lot faster than Bitcoin. But when it comes to scaling, the cost of transactions increase significantly. As a result, there is a lot of disincentive to want to continue using the Ethereum network for that low level transaction, types. So what Polygon is offering is a scalability functionality on top of the Ethereum network. What this does is that it allows you to process at a faster and at a bigger rate using, I would say, almost the same language like the Ethereum network, but building on a higher layer. So what then happens is, if Polygon processes 55,000 or 105,000 transactions per second, when it's committing its transaction to Ethereum, it's only committing the summary of its transactions to Ethereum, which it does within the normal Ethereum time frame. So what it means is that the transactions you are doing on Polygon, the summaries of those transactions will be reflected on Ethereum network, because Polygon is a layer 2 solution for Ethereum. And that's why Polygon is probably going to sell. They're going to try to sell that as much as possible this year. As what somebody said, Polygonmatic Spark. So Polygon is going to definitely make a lot of buzz this year. I think it's very good fundamentally for Polygon, and that's why Polygon is a good buy. It's still a good buy because the price is currently low. Somebody said he saw whitelisting. I'm going to check MaticPad out. So they've launched some of their platforms. They launched the wallet, for instance. The wallet didn't work quite well. I still have some of my Ethereum stock on their wallet. It's not working 100% right now. I know they're working on it, but it's not working 100%. But I think there'll be a lot of traction with Polygon as we move through the year. The question about WRCU, I will stay away from WRCU, Mr. Data, if I were you, or minimize my exposure. And I'll tell you later, maybe on WhatsApp, we'll have a separate discussion on that. I have a question from Dr. Dio. On technicals, there seems to be a bearish death cross on the daily 50 and 200 moving average. Is it safer to wait till this moves fully manifest and then consider options when it finds a reasonable support? Well, everybody is watching the chart. They look, everybody, if you know what a death cross is, so imagine everybody knows what a death cross is. Everybody knows what the buried divergence is. Everybody knows what the market structure is. Inverse head and shoulder, double bottom, V recovery, W recovery. everybody is watching the charts. So because the market makers know that everybody's watching the charts, they kind of flip on everybody, and that's what I was saying. If you watch what I was saying on the Bitcoin charts, which was this one. Anybody that was trading intraday, sorry, I need to close the pivot. Where's the pivot? Yeah, anybody that was trading intraday here on Tuesday will have concluded that we were headed for a downward spiral. I mean, there was no doubt about it. The market has been coming down. It has broken the pennant here. When it broke the pennant here, of course, we've broken the Fibonacci line here. It was obvious that the next Fibonacci line is sitting below 30K, it was somewhere around 28 or 29. So the natural expectation of a technical trader is that we are going to short the market until we get to 30 or 29. But what happened? After doing all that drama and ensuring that everybody now agrees that we are bearish, then the market takes a U-turn at 31. It didn't even get to, see, this is the original, no, that's not the original one. The original dump was 30. Yeah, the original dump was 30. Before this 31, the original dump was 30, which is about 3 weeks ago. Sorry, my charts are not loading very well. So everybody's watching the chart and everybody knows what the chart is saying. But in an evolving market like Bitcoin, best believe me that, I mean, from experience, the chart can be flipped right in your face. So if you're looking for the support, we already had the support, bro. 31K was the support. If you say, what's my proof? This is my proof. This is an inverse head and shoulder. Where's my marker? This is an inverse head and shoulder pattern. Head and shoulder usually is a reversal pattern. Works on the other side, I mean, it was upright. But this is an inverse head and shoulder, meaning that the price had made an hesitation, went further, couldn't break further, recovered and tried again, but still sat at the same level of this initial hesitation it has. It's a reversal sign on the 4 hour, on the 1 hour, on the 4 hours, you have the same thing. And now what is happening is, sorry, I need to let's take out that. What is happening is that because we originally broke out of this pennant, what's happening essentially is we've broken back up into the inversion of the pennant, and we're now using the original trend line that we broke before. We're using this as support. So if you're looking for support, if you want to talk purely technical, we already had the support. Regardless of what the death cross is saying. The death cross is basically dynamic support and resistance as determined by moving averages, either exponential moving averages or simple moving averages. But they are not as strong in themselves if they don't have corroborating market structures. What do I mean? If you have a death cross and you have a bearish engulfing, for instance, on a daily chart. So if I had a death cross on a daily chart, like we had, what was that? I think it was somewhere around here. I don't have any of my moving averages on now. I have them on another chart. But if you had a dead cross and you have a bearish engulfing like you had here, I mean bullish bearish engulfing, you know that yes, for a while the market is going to go down, because this tells us that this long dip tells us that yes, we are in a bearish engulfing, and you can see that we did have that. Now, what you have had here now from the daily chart is we've had another bullish engulfing just in the last 3 days. So if I was to make my decision, we already had our support. The only thing I'll be doing is, if I wanted to enter the market, I might wait to see how the day closes, or wait on the cusp of this trend line, because this trend line is the new trend line that tells us that we are now in an uptrend. So really, death cross or no death cross, for the most part, it's a retrospective diagnosis. But you can't use it as a predictor of, market direction. The ones I'm sure you can use as predictor of market direction are trend lines, Fibonacci extension, and probably market structure from the candle pattern. So like I said, what you have here is essentially telling us that we're in a recovery. If I move this to, let me try to change this to the line charts to explain what I'm, so that you see that the line chart takes out all the noise. Now, from a line chart, what is obvious here is that people will say that Bitcoin usually takes a W recovery. Initially here, everybody will have assumed that, well, this is our W1, 2, and everybody was going up. And what did the market makers do? They slopped the markets. So anybody that entered here thinking that, well, we were sitting on the Fibonacci line, and we already had our W recovery, will get wiped out when it gets here, because essentially what happened there was we got pulled down further back below the original level. This is pure market maker games. So regardless of what the technicals are saying, it's always very, very critical to keep at the back of your mind, one, the overall picture of the trend, two, what the fundamentals really are. And based on everything I've said today, if you join from the beginning, you understand that even today's price is not reflective of what's happening on the market. So you have countries saying we're switching our legal tender to Bitcoin. You have countries saying we are considering holding Bitcoin as legal country's reserve, and yet the price is what it is today. It tells you that the price reality is different from the market reality. And one way or the other, one will catch up with the other. It always is. So if a company is performing poorly and the stock market the stock price is going up, the truth is going to come out at some point in time, and that market price will crash. So if the company is doing well, and some people are playing games with the stock price, eventually, when the company's results in form of financial statement comes out, the truth will be out, and everybody will say, oh, all the while that this stock has been doing badly, they actually have been doing well. And then what happens then is the real market reality and the price will come to alignment. So nothing to worry, Dr. Dio. We already had our support. You can bet okay, maybe we don't have a support, but I can tell you already had a support. The only thing that would have felt was that if we broke below 31 when the market came down last week, I would have said, yeah, maybe we should still wait for one more leg down. But significantly, because we didn't break below 31, I think it's a reversal indicator to say that we're probably not going lower. So this was essentially what we had, 31. We didn't break below 31. The lowest attempt we had from the original was 28. After that, we went up, tried it again, we sat at 31, and we didn't break 31 again. So we can take this as our W, 1, 2, which is usually the pattern in which Bitcoin recovers. And until this trend line is broken, this new trend line, I don't think the price is going down. Any other question?
Yes, doctor. It's me. Hello?
Yeah, I'm with you, Mr. Umo.
Okay, all right. Good evening, doctor. Thank you for insight to the market and the chart. I really appreciate. And for me, I think the whole essence of gathering or meeting online with all these lectures is for us to enable ourselves to know the direction of the market. So I really felt somehow, because now you've said again that it's likely the market might bullish again, and at the end of the day, so you want people to chat you up possible for where we need to cash out. Because the point is this: if at the end of the day we keep gathering here online for this meeting and we've not been able to take profit, I think for me it doesn't really sound well, or it doesn't really go down well. So the main aim is that we should be able to take profit at when due. Then the one we are holding, we should hold on to it. So basically what I'm trying to say is this: if you can really help us, I know you have tried, if you can really help us, possible to update us if there's going to be any reversal in the market. So as in, if we are entering into the next bull run as predicted, so we can be able to cash out. Because for me, I saw a portfolio that was really high, up to like some crazy amount, and end of the day, everything just melted down. It wasn't really funny, doctor. I must say, it wasn't really fun. Because if I was able to cash out, I could have now buy at the dip now. But now the dip has presented himself. I couldn't buy anything. I'm just looking at the dip. And, a lot of us, who, much cash is not available, probably we just took some facilities somewhere, including on the trade commerce, and it was trading, and everything in the trade commerce is virtually very bloody now. So he's not doing anything. So it's really affecting me. So my plea with you would be, please, sir, with all due respect, anyhow you can help us, as in give us heads up. If we are entering into the next bull run, give us heads up where the market might probably be revising. So those who want to cash out can. We might not be 100% on the technical analysis or wherever it's, but I think a little bit of prediction will really help. So those who want to cash out cannot be catch up with. Thank you very much.
Okay. I will try to answer your question without giving away too much, but what I'll say to you is, we're going back to all-time high. That's the first step. Where is all-time high? This is all-time high. 65K. We're going back to all-time high. That's the first step. So if you had plans of cashing out or you are stretched for cash, this is a good exit point, because what it means is that we might take a slight hesitation at this price before moving upward. Now, the danger in cashing out at all-time high might mean that the market just blasts through all-time high and just keeps moving on. If the market goes according to the projection I've given earlier on, what it means is that from 28, we'll take a peak here, which is 130%. Mad. Even if you decide that you want to cash out here, you will at least take out your initial capital, because here, by this point, your account will probably be where it was around mid-May. So, I mean, I'm not excluded as well. My portfolio is like 60% down now, thereabouts. And if it goes back to 65K, my portfolio will probably be where it was mid-May. So two things: you can choose to cash out there if that's the point of your comfort. Like I told one of my very close friends who was becoming a non-believer when the market started crashing. So I told him that, I don't think you have the mind to withstand this volatility. I think what you should do is, once we go back to all-time high, take out all your initial capital and just wait. That at least then your mind can think clearly and you can see the market for where it is. At least we're going to have 2 more dips before the end of the year. At least 2 more dips. Meaning we're going to have 2 more peaks before the end of the year. Definitely, confirmed. And the reason is that the market, as I said, the market is following the mathematical linear progression model. And it looks like that's the playbook that the market makers are using. And it has not failed up until now. And that's why I was saying on Instagram that, in 5 weeks' time, people will be singing a different song. Because in 5 weeks' time, all these dips will have been completely covered up. Having said that, if you take a look at what we call Fibonacci extension, a Fibonacci extension usually helps you to do price discovery on an asset that has not reached particular price levels before. If you took a Fibonacci extension on the price of Bitcoin from the lows of 27K to the peak of around 60K, what it tells us is that we should expect above this level, which is above the 60K level, we should expect price resistance around 76, around 82, around 137 and 140. Between 82 and 100, actually, I think there'll be another one around 100. 100 because 100 is a psychological barrier. So if we hit 100, a lot of people will sell off. So as general advice, if we cross all-time high and we'll keep going, my counsel will be, if you hit 90 at Bitcoin price, it's a good time to sell off. Yeah, I think it's a good time to sell off. Even though I think we'll exceed 90 before we start coming down. But if we hit 90, I think it's a good price to sell off. That's all I can tell you for now. Dr. Shandy, you have another question? Okay. Someone said Coinbase is a custodian of Binance. I don't understand what that means. Coinbase and Binance are separate.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Thanks,
please go ahead.
thanks for the lecture and all the encouragement. Actually, I just received a message from one of my clients as one of my proteges. And I just want to use the opportunity to ask the question because, well, in this world, anything is possible now. So the information he sent to me is simply this. He said someone sent to him that prepare for Coinbase and Binance to crash. He now said, word is that the Coinbase support system and admin dashboard has been hacked, which I don't really believe. Where we don't know what is going on, but I don't know. The $100 billion company is worth zero. I don't know where that person got it. And now said, Binance, the largest exchange on the planet, uses Coinbase Trust as their custodian. You now said Coinbase has been compromised and everyone's funds are being swapped according to the over 310,000 group members from Discord public chat. So that's what I just want to clarify that just to answer.
Well, I don't think so. Coinbase and Binance are direct competitors. So why would you keep your custody with your competitor? Does it make sense?
Okay.
They're direct no. They're direct competitors now. Coinbase is listed as the biggest exchange in the US. Binance is the most capitalized exchange in the world right now. So why would they keep their funds with Coinbase? Bearing in mind that they're even better custodian companies like DYIG or Gemini or Kraken. I don't see how that's possible though. There are other people on this call who are equally experienced. I don't see how Binance is going to be keeping their custody. They don't need to keep their custody on Coinbase. Binance has their own chain. Binance is an early participant. As a matter of fact, I think Binance has mining.
Yeah, they are rival.
Exactly. So I don't see how that's possible. Maybe Binance US, I don't know, because Binance US is a separate legal entity from Binance Global. Binance Global is not domiciled in any location, really and truly. So I don't see how that's possible. I don't know about Coinbase. I stopped you, and I think I mentioned it many times that people shouldn't use Coinbase if they can, because number one, it's too pricey. The price of Bitcoin in Coinbase is probably the highest price you buy on the market. Number two, they're too in line with the what's it called? They can get into trouble. Sorry. I registered with Coinbase, I think first in 2019. Then they came back in 2021 and asked me to do KYC. I'm like, why do I need to do KYC? I submitted all my data less than 2 years ago. Why do I need to do KYC again? And they were literally threatening me. I'm like, okay. I just moved on my crypto away from there.
Yeah, so, I had the same experience. I think 2018. They asked me to move all my assets from my thing that I will not have access to it anymore. So I've stopped using it since then. So I don't know.
So you have right to your money. This is not supposed to be a centralized economy. Somebody is not providing service you need. Best case scenario, put it on your DeFi wallet or decentralized wallet and keep it there. If you can't put it on an exchange. So I don't think that's true. I'll find out. I'll check their Discord group. I don't think that's true. That's just hearsay. For a company that just went public, that doesn't make sense. Mr. Wale, please give me a question before we go, Jerry.
Yeah, this issue of the Coinbase and just jumping in like that. Thanks for everything. But on this Coinbase and the Coin wallet, is it the same thing?
I don't know which one is Coinbase. Coin wallets.
Okay.
So Coinbase has two products. There is an exchange product, which is further divided to Coinbase and Coinbase Pro.
Okay.
But they share databases in that if you are registered on one, you can be linked to the other. Then there's a third product called Coinbase Wallet. So
Okay.
Coinbase wallet is a decentralized wallet, meaning you own the passphrase, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
in the real sense of it, what this decentralized wallet provides you is they give you a unique view of your wallet on the blockchain.
Right.
So with that unique view, they also give you the unique access, which is your passkey, meaning that you're practically the only one that can move that money around, because you're the only one that knows what the passphrase is. So the money or the funds are sitting in your own wallet on the blockchain, but they are the one providing you the view into the wallet. How do they make money? Which is the next question. They make money because they provided you that view. So if you now want to move your coin around, they will take a fraction of the transaction cost that you'll have paid on chain directly. That's how they make money from those wallets. So Coinbase wallet, SafePower wallet, Trust wallet, Tron wallet, all those Ethereum wallet, all those are applications or apps that are providing views of your wallet on the blockchain. And they make their money when you transfer in or out or across the blockchain.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, this question is not related to any crypto generally. I just want to find out if you feel like your laptop or your computer is being bugged and you go to factory setting, does it take out any form of bug that is on your computer when you reset to factory setting?
Okay, it depends on the nature of bug.
Okay.
You know, bugs are they are bugs, they are worms, they are viruses. So it depends on what is up. If it's a virus attack, it's a different thing, because that it means that virus attack, needs to be fished out and sorted, because it might be affecting specific functionalities within your computer. If it's a worm, it might just be going around corrupting data from folder to folder. If it's a malware, it might be something that is providing information to outside sources from your computer. So if you have, do you have crypto on any wallet on the browser on that computer?
Yeah, I had a problem on my MetaMask. I think some of my Ethereum was stolen. So I just put on the laptop, log on to my MetaMask, and over a couple of minutes, I just went out to do something. And by the time I came back, I discovered that some of the Ethereum I had there had gone. So I was going to chat you about it, but I don't want to disturb you. That's why I've not spoken to you. If it's going to disturb the flow of what we are talking about here, probably I might call you to talk about it.
Let's talk about it later. Well,
okay.
I'm very wary of keeping stuff on MetaMask. I have my reasons. I'm actually very wary of using web wallets, which are browser wallets, because they are as good as hot wallets. If the computer, and I think I mentioned it before when I was talking about security in one of these sessions, that if the computer is compromised or the browser is compromised or there is a spyware, you have a possibility that somebody can, compromise that wallet. So if I want to keep stuff, I only keep stuff on my Ethereum wallet. my MetaMask wallet for things I want to use. Maybe I want to do the transaction, then I move it from my another decentralized wallet to my Ethereum wallet. What you can do is download Coinbase Wallet. Coinbase Wallet is one of the strongest. Is one of the strong ones. Coinbase Wallet is a good one. Or download the one on the phone. So what you now do is, if you need to carry out a transaction on your computer and you need to connect a wallet, it'll give you the option to do what you call Wallet Connect. With Wallet Connect, it gives you a QR code. On wallets like Coinbase Wallet, you can scan the QR code and it will connect the wallet on your phone to that browser. The good thing is that once you're done with the transaction, you can switch off the connection, or you can disconnect it from your phone, and then you've disconnected from the browser. Unlike the MetaMask on your browser, as long as the browser is active, any site can have access to that MetaMask, essentially. Okay. Let's talk about it later.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. And see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers, bro.